South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol holds talks with his Romanian counterpart Klaus Iohannis at his office in Yongsan for further cooperation on defense weaponry and nuclear power. Following yesterday's short-range ballistic missile firing, North Korea says it conducted drills simulating a nuclear counterattack using super-large multiple rocket launchers. South Korea's military sees this as exaggerated, adding Russia could be one of the reasons behind the launch. Medical professors are considering halting their services once a week, citing fatigue from the prolonged walkout by resident doctors. The top office expresses deep regret over doctors refusing dialogue and sticking to no increase in the number of future medical school students. It's April 23, 2024. This is Newscenter. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jong-un. President Yoon hosted his Romanian counterpart, Klaus Iohannis, earlier on this Tuesday at the Yongsan office. The leaders sealed deals on defense and more. Our presidential office correspondent Woo Soo-young leads us off.
South Korea and Romania agreed to strengthen their strategic bilateral ties, inking deals to cooperate on defense weaponry and nuclear power plants. That's according to a joint statement released by President Yoon Suk-yeol and his Romanian counterpart Klaus Iohannis following their summit at the Yongsan presidential office on Tuesday. Building on their existing bilateral consultations on defense-related issues, the two nations agreed to ramp up cooperation in jointly producing military equipment and defense technology, and establish working-level talks between the two sides to address pertinent issues. The two also agreed to work together to address cybersecurity and showed interest in advancing negotiations for the Korea-European Union Security Partnership. Another key outcome was nuclear energy, as Seoul seeks opportunities for its companies to win contracts to build small modular reactors abroad. The two governments signed a memorandum of understanding to establish nuclear energy cooperation, including on nuclear facility enhancement, nuclear fuel, nuclear waste management, as well as personnel development and information on supply chains. While committing to non-proliferation and the civil use of nuclear power, they agreed on the importance of nuclear technology in meeting global net zero targets, with Romania backing South Korea's carbon-free energy initiative. The two nations will also increase cooperation on infrastructure development, based on a deal reached last May between Busan Port Authority and Romania's Port of Constanța. Based on their shared values of democracy, human rights and the rule of law, the two countries agreed on the need to strengthen multilateralism, especially in the face of global security challenges. They condemned North Korea's illegal nuclear and missile programs, calling for its denuclearization and the human rights of its oppressed citizens. Seoul and Bucharest also criticized Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine, agreeing to ramp up collective pressure on Moscow through restrictive measures. Amid global supply chain disruptions and the ongoing transition to green energy, the two countries agreed to build on South Korea and the EU's frameworks, including on free trade, economic security, and green and digital partnerships. With bilateral ties stretching back to 1990, upgraded to a strategic cooperation in 2008. This marks the first time in 16 years that a Romanian leader has visited South Korea. Following his summit with Yoon and a meeting with Prime Minister Han Duck-soo, Iohannis will visit power plant builder Tusan Enerbility's Changwon factory on Wednesday before he leaves for Romania on Thursday. Woo Soo-young, Arirang News.
North Korea says it conducted drills yesterday simulating a nuclear counterattack using super-large multiple rocket launchers. South Korea's military sees this as exaggerated as it analyzes reasons behind the launch. Our defense correspondent Choi Min-jung has this report.
North Korea has revealed that it staged tactical drills simulating a nuclear counterattack using super-large multiple rocket launchers for the very first time. The training guided by Kim Jong-un on Monday was focused on strengthening the regime's nuclear counteroffensive using 600mm multiple rocket launchers. The North state-run newspaper Rodong Sinmun reported Tuesday morning that Kim was satisfied with the rocket's accuracy. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff detected the launch of multiple short-range ballistic missiles on Monday, launched toward the East Sea from the Pyongyang area. Pyongyang has claimed a tactical nuclear warhead could be mounted onto the weapon, but Seoul's military evaluates that the claim has been exaggerated, as it said the regime still appears to be carrying out tests. And according to the regime, the rockets hit its island target at a range of 352 kilometers. This is approximately equal to the distance from Pyongyang to South Korea's Garyongdae military headquarters in Chungcheongnam-do province. The South Korean military stressed that it has a system in place to detect and intercept ballistic missiles if they were to fly toward the south. It also sent a stern warning to the north.
International security cooperation, including trilateral cooperation between South Korea, the US, and Japan, will be further strengthened. If North Korea attempts to use nuclear weapons, it will face an immediate, overwhelming, and decisive response from the ROK-US alliance, and the regime will come to an end.
Pyongyang said Monday's drills were conducted to send a clear warning to its enemies, as it denounced Seoul and Washington's recent joint air drills for raising tensions. But South Korea's military has said that there is another motive behind the launch: promoting exports to Russia.
We believe there is a complex purpose, like demonstrating the performance of the super-large multiple rocket launchers for exports.
The speculation comes as a military source said Russia's government delegation visited North Korea on Monday under the radar. This raises the possibility that Pyongyang, which has been criticized by the international community for exporting weapons to Moscow, is intentionally hiding the visit to make additional arms deals. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
North Korean hacker groups have been targeting defense industries in the south. This is according to South Korea's National Police Agency on Tuesday. It said North Korean hackers, including the Lazarus and Daryl and Kim Soo-ki groups, have been running all-out attacks to steal South Korean defense technologies in what an official called a notable cooperation. Around 10 companies have reported hacking damage. The police agency said security measures were taken once the damage was confirmed. North Korea's human rights record remains appalling, according to the latest annual findings by the U.S. State Department. Lee Seung-jae has more.
The U.S. State Department on Monday released the 2023 country reports on human rights practices, where it highlighted North Korea's continued human rights violations. While this year's report was generally similar to last year's, the 2023 report emphasized North Koreans being repatriated after COVID-19 restrictions begin to loosen in the regime. Repatriation has been a key issue for the U.S. amid concerns that North Koreans who are caught after escaping the North could face harsh treatment after being sent back home. The report also noted other serious human rights issues, such as public executions, torture, arbitrary arrest, and detention. The annual report pointed out involuntary or coercive medical practices, harsh prison conditions, as well as cases of coerced abortion or forced sterilization and human trafficking. It further elaborated on other human rights violations, such as those attempting to leave the country without permission, being killed on the spot, or publicly executed, while guards at political prison camps are said to be under orders to shoot to kill anyone attempting to escape. It added that freedom of expression, movement, assembly, and association are prohibited, with an assessment that basic human rights are not guaranteed in North Korea. Every year, the State Department publishes a report on the human rights situation in countries around the world, including South Korea and North Korea, which is required by law to be submitted to Congress. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Seoul and Washington are sitting down in Hawaii on Tuesday to address the sharing of expenses involved in maintaining American troop presence here in South Korea. Lee Eun-hee reports.
South Korea and the United States' new round of talks on defense cost sharing starts on Tuesday local time in Hawaii. This is the first meeting since Seoul and Washington named their chief negotiators early last month. Lee Tae-woo, formerly the Consul General in Sydney, will lead South Korea's delegation. He will engage in talks with a U.S. delegation led by Linda Specht, a senior advisor and U.S. lead negotiator for security agreements at the State Department, who on Monday said the United States seeks fair and equitable outcomes in the Special Measures Agreement for defense cost sharing aimed at strengthening and maintaining the alliance with South Korea. The 12th Special Measures Agreement outlines the cost-sharing arrangement between South Korea and the U.S. for approximately 25,500 U.S. Forces Korea personnel. Since 1991, South Korea has been shouldering some of the costs of stationing of U.S. troops in Korea, including labor, logistics, and construction costs. The two countries have regularly engaged in negotiations on how to share these expenses, with the latest deal signed in 2021 and set to remain in effect until the end of next year.
I will do my best to ensure that a rational level of defense cost sharing is achieved to provide a stable stationing environment for the deployment of U.S. Forces Korea, an essential element of this combined defense posture between South Korea and the U.S.
The early talks on the Special Measures Agreement, despite its effective start date in 2026, are viewed as an unusual move, with speculation that it is aimed at securing an agreement before the potential re-election of former U.S. President Donald Trump. During his presidency, Trump demanded that South Korea pay up to $5 billion a year. However, the South Korean Foreign Ministry has dismissed this speculation, saying that the early preparations are not related to the November election. Under the latest Special Measures Agreement, South Korea agreed to a 13.9% increase in its contribution from 2019 to $1.3 billion for 2021. Lee Eun-hee, Arirang News.
Medical professors are considering halting their services once a week, citing fatigue from the prolonged walkout by resident doctors. The top office expresses disappointment over doctors refusing dialogue. Shin Se-byuk has the latest on the medical reform conflict.
Professors from leading hospitals nationwide are considering halting all outpatient services and surgeries once a week due to fatigue resulting from the prolonged resident doctors' walkout. The Medical Professors Association of Korea's Emergency Committee plans to discuss this in an online meeting at 7 p.m. on Tuesday. Specific service suspension timelines will vary among hospitals, but essential services such as emergency and intensive care will not be affected. If approved today, major hospitals, including Seoul's Big Five, are expected to implement the weekly shutdown. This is seen as a new strategy by the senior doctors to pressure the government ahead of it finalizing the 2025 medical school admissions quota at the end of this month. Meanwhile, with medical professors' resignations set to take effect this Thursday, patient anxiety is escalating. Since March 25th, professors have submitted their resignations in support of the resident doctors' protest. In response, the Korea Alliance of Patients Organization issued a statement on Monday, urging the professors to continue providing essential care. At a Tuesday briefing, Senior Presidential Secretary for Social Affairs Chang Sang-yoon expressed disappointment over the doctors' boycott of the newly created Special Committee on Medical Reform.
We regret that the Korean Medical Association is not participating in this crucial multi-sector body, which aims to shape the future of our nation's healthcare, and that the Korean Intern Resident Association has not yet taken a stance. We are hopeful for a change before the committee's launch.
Chang also stressed that the government remains open to dialogue if the medical community provides a well-substantiated, unified proposal on the medical school quota increase. Currently, the doctors' organizations are calling for the government to completely reconsider the plan. On Tuesday, Im Hyun-taek, the president-elect of the Korean Medical Association, said on social media that officials responsible for the ongoing standoff, including the second Vice Health Minister Park Min-soo, must be dismissed before any further talks can take place. The Health Ministry, however, said that linking the doctors' return to work to the dismissal of specific officials was unreasonable. Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News.
At the National Assembly today, the National Policy Committee directly referred an amendment to the Fair Transactions in Franchise Businesses Act to a plenary session. The bill aims to strengthen franchises' collective bargaining rights. The Act on the Honorable Treatment of Democratic Merit, which aims to recognize victims of democratization movements and their families as meritorious people, was also sent directly to the Assembly. Amid a walkout by the ruling People Power Party, 15 members from the opposition parties, including the Democratic Party of Korea, voted in favor. The PPP, which opposed the bills, strongly condemned the move, calling it reckless legislative behavior. The DP plans to vote on the bills during an extraordinary plenary session in May. Economic relations between South Korea and the United States continue to grow, while various factors are affecting Korea as an attractive business destination. These were some of the topics that were brought up as CEOs and government officials gathered today in Seoul to talk about American firms doing business in Korea. Our Moon Hyun files this report.
The American Chamber of Commerce in Korea opened its annual AMCHAM Doing Business in Korea seminar on Tuesday, with company heads and government officials to discuss policy directions to make the country more attractive for American firms. The U.S. ambassador to South Korea spoke of how the U.S. has become South Korea's largest investor, and how American firms are betting on the Korean market due to its prominence on the global stage in terms of industry and cultural content.
Korea is meeting the global moment as a global cultural and economic powerhouse. As a result, Korea is at a moment of opportunity to position itself to attract more international business.
According to a survey conducted by AMCHAM, South Korea was ranked as the second most preferred destination for regional business headquarters in Asia, after Singapore for 3 years straight.
New York Times is a good example. They moved its regional headquarters from Hong Kong to Korea. And why did they move here? Great freedom of press. The digital infrastructure is outstanding. And third, look at the people that you have in Korea. Hardworking, educated, who can execute.
But there's still a long way to go before the country can firmly establish itself as a regional headquarters hub.
Singapore has 5,000 regional headquarters. Hong Kong has 1,400. Believe it or not, Korea has less than 100. Now is the perfect time for Korea to really win some of those regional headquarters into Korea.
In order to achieve such a goal, there are 4 key policy areas that Seoul needs to develop.
One is labor flexibility. The other is predictability on tax. And the topic that always comes up, CEO risk and liabilities, and the digital economy and regulations.
The Yoon administration has already begun to address some of these concerns, such as tax predictability, extending flat income tax rates for foreign workers. But with the digital economy increasingly accounting for larger portions of the country's GDP, and demand surging for more talent in new up-and-coming sectors such as AI, the government aims to foster growth in research and development between foreign and domestic groups.
This year, we established an R&D business exclusively for foreign companies so that global companies can promote technological innovation in Korea.
With the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy working with AMCHAM to further advance the country as an attractive business destination and spearhead the program to advance South Korea as a regional business hub, there could be more developments in store. Moon Hyun, Arirang News.
In the U.S., former President Donald Trump's criminal trial over alleged hush money payments is underway, with both the prosecution and defense making compelling opening statements. Lee Eun-jin has more.
On Monday, the prosecution and Donald Trump's defense made their opening statements at the former president's hush money trial, the first criminal trial of a former U.S. president. The final jurors were seated on Friday, and all eyes will be on New York Supreme Court Judge Juan Merchant as he oversees the first criminal trial of a former U.S. president. Trump has pleaded not guilty to all 34 charges of falsifying business records related to an accusation that a payment of $130,000 was made to porn star Stormy Daniels in return for keeping quiet about an alleged encounter between Daniels and Trump. For opening statements, prosecutor Matthew Colangelo argued election fraud, saying that Donald Trump had a scheme to corrupt the 2016 election by silencing people who were about to come forward with embarrassing stories that may hurt his campaign. The prosecution argued that it wasn't political spin or a communication strategy to avoid bad press, but that it was a planned and highly coordinated scheme of illegal hush money expenditures. Meanwhile, opening statements from Trump's defense attacked the case as baseless, saying the former president did nothing illegal, arguing that Trump was trying to protect his family, reputation, and name brand. While leaving the courtroom on Monday, Trump downplayed the trial, calling it a very minor bookkeeping case, and that it was indeed about an election, not the 2016 election, but the one this November, saying that it was a Democratic attempt to disrupt his chances at reclaiming the presidency.
And over here, I did nothing wrong also. This is a Biden witch hunt to keep me off the campaign trail. So far, it's not working because my poll numbers are higher than they've ever been because the public understands that it's a witch hunt. Thank you very much.
The first witness for the prosecutors was former National Enquirer publisher David Pecker, also a longtime friend of Trump's. He took the witness stand before court broke for the day, and his testimony is expected to continue on Tuesday. Jin, Arirang News.
The sky was dark, but the sun was shining through the clouds today. The air has stayed very cozy even though it's a little windy in Seoul. However, with skies gradually becoming more cloudy, by the time we get off work today, there's rain forecast on the southern coast. It will then expand across the country tonight. If you have an appointment tonight, you should take an umbrella. Tomorrow it will rain all over the country, but by the afternoon, most of the rain will have stopped. Until tomorrow, the coastal areas of Gangwon province will have 10 to 40 millimeters. About 5 to 20 will fall in most other areas. Since the atmosphere will be unstable, thunder, lightning, and hail are expected as well. Please be careful. Tomorrow, the weather will be cool in Seoul due to the wind and rain. Seoul and Daegu will start off at 11 degrees Celsius. Daytime temperatures will move up to 17 in Seoul, Daejeon and Gwangju 18 degrees. Later in the week, it is expected to get as hot as early summer. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world. That is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session coming up.